Because of religion's strong ability to bring people together, religion can also really influence how the social world changes or does not change. Some religious communities resist change. They seek to keep the world exactly as it was when that particular religion was founded, or when the doctrines of that religion were established. And we can call this fundamentalism. Fundamentalism can be seen in all of the major religions in the world today. People who say, no, we need to go back to the core beliefs, the original beliefs of the system. So a Christian fundamentalist would say, I need to live my life in accordance with the rules of the Bible exactly the way that they were written, rather than reading the Bible as something that was very time and place specific. However, the combined energy of religious groups can be used to motivate political and social change. Certainly because of this concept of communitas, when we worship with other people, we find solidarity, we find community, we find brotherhood. That combined energy can really push the non-religious world in some pretty significant ways. So we can call these movements or these religions that try to promote social change as revitalization movements. Revitalization movements tend to come about during times of social unrest, social uneasiness, times when society is in flux and people may be grappling with inequality or discrimination. So during these times, religious leaders will often emerge in an attempt to gather people together to alter or to revitalize the society. Follow me, believe in what I believe in, and together we can change the world. Some examples of this, and we can find examples all over the world and throughout time. First example is the ghost dance. The ghost dance was a particular religious ritual that spread throughout Native American communities in the 1800s. And this is regardless of tribe. We're looking at lots of different tribes living in the Great Plains area, lots of different religious belief systems, but this one particular ritual spread from group to group to group. And it was meant to be a way to resist the encroachment of Anglo-Americans into the western part of North America. For a lot of American history, people were concentrated on the East Coast. But as Anglo-Americans started to spread west into Native American territory, the ghost dance emerged as a way to try to press back or push back against those oppressive colonial forces. Christianity is also a revitalization movement. Jesus of Nazareth, the historical figure, was one of many prophets who emerged about 2,000 years ago, who spoke about changing the Roman world that they were living in, when many people did not have voices to enact social change, when there was a lot of inequality economically and politically, when there was lots of discrimination. Jesus, as a historical figure, was one person who said, get on board, get with my system, and together, this new religion, this new belief, we can change the world that we are living in for the better. Our final example of a revitalization movement are cargo cults. And cargo cults are one of my favorite social groups that exists on the planet today. Cargo cults are religious movements that exist in the South Pacific. So down here around Papua New Guinea and lots of smaller islands around the South Pacific. This part of the world has a long history of interaction with white colonialism. White Europeans first started coming into this part of the world around 200 years ago, in this age of European exploration, expansion, imperialism, and colonialism. You have people like Captain James Cook coming into Papua New Guinea and Australia and these islands, and encountering these small-scale horticulturalists for the first time. As white Europeans started coming into these islands, they started setting up military posts, but also evangelists would come in, missionaries would come in an attempt to civilize and bring the word of Christianity to these horticulturalists who were practicing polytheism, worshiping their own gods in their own systems. When white colonialists were coming into these areas, One of the things they did was basically bring all of the comforts of home with them into these new environments. So the islanders who had been living in these places for years, who had been practicing very small scale farming, living in what we might consider very rudimentary housing of reeds and grasses, these islanders kept noticing that whites were bringing in a lot of personal possessions, a lot of material wealth. Whites kept showing up with stuff that the islanders didn't have. And this question emerged. Why is it that whites have so much more cargo than we do? And in this part of the world, cargo simply means stuff. It means material wealth. So they were trying to answer this question, why do others have more than we have? Over time, this belief system developed that all of the material wealth that whites had originally belonged to these islanders, and that the whites had stolen it from the people of the South Pacific. Thus, it was the goal of the religion to recapture the wealth that had been taken from them, to gain back from the whites what had been stolen so long ago and stolen from their ancestors. And so these religions developed that used imitative magic, that tried to copy the actions of the white colonists in an attempt to regain personal wealth. In particular, in the 1940s, during World War II, as the war spread into the Pacific, as the British, the Americans, and the Australians were setting up military bases on all of these islands, they were coming in boats, they were coming in planes, bringing more and more stuff with them. So the islanders began to realize, well, if we're going to have planes bringing stuff back, we need runways. So the islanders construct these amazing runways to try to tempt the gods back into bringing them the material wealth that had been stolen from them. They make planes out of reeds and grasses to show the gods that, we have this technology. It's okay. You can bring us back our stuff. This religious belief that attempts to bring back material wealth to these islands is a really fascinating example of how people can use religion in an attempt to correct the social injustices of the world. For the people in these cargo cults, they see economic inequality as an injustice, and they are using religious belief to correct the wrongs of the world. And this is true of many religions. We use religion as a way of making the world a better place according to what we see are the things that are going wrong.